Hi there, it's Michelle Patterson, and we are here for the Real Share. It's where you can go and you can ask questions, you can talk to your girlfriends, and you can just find out how we can be better together. And when I had my recent, this last year, the diagnosis, these are the individuals that I turned to. I called on and said, what do I do? Who do I contact next? And how do I really navigate through this experience? And we've got somebody on this call today who has taken just a challenging situation and really turned it in for good. I received a phone call from my dear friend, Liz Schubelhorn, who said to me, Michelle, you've got to have Shannon Davidson on your podcast. And I've just been so impressed with what she is setting up. And she has an organization, a magazine called Salt and Clay. And the topic and the focus they look at is a collective of women using our giftedness to help other women find theirs. We have a passion for igniting and mobilizing women for the purpose of building up and celebrating women and their God-given purpose and giving them a platform to use their gifts. Shannon's heart is an inspiration to women, and you have two is Salt and Clay, an invitation to women to be bold enough to step into what they were created to do, but have not been given an opportunity. And that's what I love about this, is that we create a platform where we give individuals an opportunity to share their genius and to share their experiences so that we all can celebrate together. So Shannon, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so just honored and blessed to be here, Michelle. So good to meet you.
Liz will call me, and she doesn't do this too often. So when she does do it, I pay attention. And there hasn't been, in fact, the 15 years that we've been running together, Lizzie, and we've just been dear friends. We celebrate a birthday 12 hours apart. So every year we're doing our birthdays together.
Yes, there's a lot of dancing involved.
We did. So Shannon, you'll love this. We had Love Fest, which was an 18-hour celebration where we highlighted wellness providers and this wellness team family that has really come together and share what they know and help other women like myself who had a diagnosis. So I wanted to be able to give back and say thank you for just all the lifting up and the support that they have done. And what came out of that was individuals from just around the planet that are tapping into this podcast every single day. And so doing what you're doing. And let's start with the magazine and how that all came about and what prompted that.
Yeah, so probably about 6 years ago, the Lord, I'll call it a dream seed, for lack of a better, he just gave me a kind of a vision for what it might look like for women to come together so that they can celebrate their talents and their gifting, and to just in every aspect that things that women love. You know, it's the home, and it's, you know, entrepreneurship, it's, you know, creative, it's writing, it's, you know, parenting, it's all the different things that the touch points of a woman, and all coming together. The barometer of that was going to be prayer. And so what if we come together as a collective of women, supporting one another and championing one another? And so what would that look like? And I didn't know at the time what that would look like, but it was definitely a passion and that was stirring within my heart. And last year, God was so good and brought, he's very wise, because, you know, I can't do it on my own. My skill level is like this, but he brings along these amazing women. And we started dreaming and planning last year, all the year. And, you know, what could it look like to do this, to create a platform? And so we had big dreams. We still have big dreams. But finally, we narrowed in on, why don't we start with this? And it was a magazine, because what we want to do is create a platform for women and invite them in, and in a sense, hand the mic over and say, you know what, we don't need the mic. We want you to have the mic, and we want to hear your story. And we want to have you have an opportunity to start exercising that gift. And so that's the magazine's just the start, but that is what is so creatives, graphic designers, makers, writers, speakers, teachers, all of that are coming together, and God's just blessing it. It's just growing, and it's just such a joy.
Isn't it so fun? And that's why Liz knew we would hit it off right away. So my passion, like I just fall in love with my role as a promoter, as a megaphone. When we started the California Women's Conference, and I started it in 2011, had the honor of taking it over for Maria Shriver and started this conference. I had interviewed the governor that started the conference when I was in the 8th grade for the 8th grade school paper. And I'm asking him, what's his favorite hobby? How many kids do you have? And he says to me, he goes, that was the best interview I've ever heard. And my face lit up. And I recognized at that time is that, when we come together and we support one another, and the governor did exactly that. He started the California Women's Conference because women were opening up businesses. They were failing at a rapid rate. And he said, what if we bring the resources together and bring the tools, bring the individuals that are really good at marketing, pull them together and create a platform. So he started the California Women's Conference, very similar to your magazine, and pulling it together, and then recognizing that individually we can't do it all, nor are we supposed to. We're not made that way. But collectively, when we come together and then we create these stages, it is truly crowdsourcing miracles is what we do. And we had 18,000 people sign up to be a speaker for the conference. Yeah. So when you talked to me, and when Liz was saying this last night about creating the magazine, which I love the name as well. I just think that it's so beautiful too, because that's what it's about, is us coming together and really applying our specific genius. And when we're being in our essence, and then Liz is being in her essence, Shannon, you're coming to the table, Connor's doing, it just, everything elevates.
Exactly. And I love that too, because when the collective comes together too, it's just so much better than the sum of its parts, because we have, when I was talking with Liz the other day, and just who she knows, and, and it's such a joy. We were talking about this just before we went on, Michelle, there is nothing better than when you find that thing that God has created you to do, when you're in that sweet spot, your experiences and your gifts and your talents and all those things, when they all come together and converge, that convergence and that sweet spot. There is just no greater place. There's no greater joy or contentment. And, for a while, I thought I wanted the mic and the platform. And, nobody really hands that over too freely generally. They're pretty protective, and, there's reasons for that. But I have found, for me personally, and what I long to do, is to see women activated. And now it's such a great joy to just hand the mic over, hand the platform over. And that's where I'm to be. Probably similar to you in some regards too, is just, hand it over, and here it is, and let you shine.
And when you're being in your genius, in your essence, what are you doing? I always ask this question because I think a lot of times we fall prey to roles and titles, and people get away from actually doing what they really love to do, and they're being. But when you're being in your essence, what does that look like for you?
That's a really good question.
I didn't ask it until I just celebrated my 50th birthday, and I was finding myself doing stuff that really didn't bring me joy, didn't fill me up. It wasn't the best use of my genius. And it was taxing on me. It would deplete me. I wouldn't feel like I was just right on what I should be doing. Now I totally, completely do. Partly because I just got really, really, really mindful of how I was spending my time, and not just being busy, but really being effective.
Yeah, so I think, to answer your question, I believe I'm a visionary and a builder. And when I get stuck in the weeds, It's not where I should be. I'm not good in the weeds. I'm not good with details, and I shouldn't be given probably too much responsibility, quite frankly. So that's why God's so good to bring people that are much smarter than I am along to kind of, keep me where I should be. But yeah, if I'm in that place, and honestly too, it's that place. It's a builder and it's a visionary, but where I feel like I come alive is when I'm connecting with women one on one, and I get to find out, okay, what are you passionate about? And and where are you right now in your season of life? Because every season of our lives is different, and it's just going to look different. So where are you today? And to find out just these women's stories, and then how can we get that story out? Because every woman's story can encourage somebody, and we're not meant to be silent. We're meant to encourage one another and come alongside, shoulder to shoulder. So probably, besides being that visionary or whatever for what we're going towards, it's that one-on-one connect with these gals, and then just celebrating and trying to champion them and how God created them to be.
I love that too. And I look at too is that we don't, as women, we don't want to be fixed. We don't want somebody to come in and do it for us. What we want is we want these resources, and sometimes even just a little helping hand, or somebody putting a phone call out to you and just, telling you that they're praying for you, they're supporting you, and just listening. I mean, it really does wonders in so many ways. And I think oftentimes we don't really realize how it does come full circle.
Mm-hmm.
So
How that does happen.
Michelle, can I just share something about Shannon? I'd love to share a quick story. So I met Shannon at church probably 5-6 years ago. But church is big, and you kind of get lost in the hallways. And I was going through a situation in my life that made other people uncomfortable, right? Anything divorce, separation scares people. And what was beautiful about Shannon is that she is one-on-one. She does take the time. She does the follow through. She'll sit and have coffee with you. She sees you in the hallway, right? She sees the unseen. She breathes life into you and encouragement. She used to have a study at her house where she would let us come over in our pajamas. And I think there was like 12 of us. We could sit along that couch, and she'd either make a 5-course meal for us, because she's a chef, or breakfast for dinner. But she, no matter what state of mind I was, because sometimes I just wear a ball cap and you couldn't see my eyes because there was just sadness. And she was never afraid of me, because a lot of people go, oh, call me, I'll be there for you. What's beautiful is she's just a follower of God. God loves the unseen, right? People that are sick or going through things. Like, you just see all of Jesus' parables. So I love that she saw me and she was never afraid of me. She was just like, that's life, and that's a beautiful woman, and I'm going to empower her. And she has taken me to many breakfasts, many coffees, many dinners. She taught me to pray, to be still, to believe that the storm will pass. And so I just kind of wanted to share what she's about. I met her years ago, and she's accomplished a lot of different things, but she empowers women. And so I always say thank you for taking the time and for not being afraid of me.
In fact, I wrote that down, and that should be something too in all of your opening remarks and anything that comes out, because that's that's a beautiful, beautiful compliment. And that's not something that somebody can just like come up with, is to really be able to see the unseen. Especially too is, people are going through stuff where they feel this enormous amount of shame. And so to be seen, and to feel whole, despite whatever they're going through. And I can tell, even in just talking with you and when you came on right away, it was like, she's strikingly beautiful, gorgeous, and to have it be where it's on the inside and out, that beauty that comes through. It's just, it's beautiful. And so, well, I'm excited to just go on this next chapter with you and see what we can build together and just creating these platforms, because I like you believe that these women out there are just doing extraordinary things. And sometimes it just takes one person to see them,
Yeah.
for it to ignite and for them to do something, so amazing. So thank you for that.
Well, and I just want to share. Thank you for those very kind words. But the only way that you can understand, I think, how to love somebody who might be unseen is that you yourself have received. And I have been loved by my Heavenly Father, and in in places where there was a lot of ugliness, and I have a past. Everybody has a past, and it's not very pretty. And so I've had people come alongside me and love me and see past the ugly to what God wanted me to become, and just through that process. So I just want to say I thank you for that. But it's come through mess, and I've been the recipient of kindness and love, and to be seen by others. And so it's from that heart that I can that I can see somebody else. But on a quick, I just want to share real quick too, if that's okay. There's a story. So Liz was in.
My favorite shows are like this, when it's just free flowing and up, and then that's when the magic happens too, because then we can start talking about, okay, how are we going to build, and what's this next step, and what do we need, and what do you need? So absolutely.
Okay, good. Well, so Liz and I joke about this. So when I first met Liz, I was co-leading a Bible study at our church, and I never really liked women's Bible studies. And so I ended up becoming the director of women, go figure. But anyway, so Liz was in my little small group, and I told them I wasn't too smart. I'm still not that smart. But anyway, and I said to them,
stop you, because there's on my show, I allow swearing. You can swear, you can drop the F-bomb, but you cannot say anything negative about yourself.
Oh, okay. Well, I had room for growth. And so anyway, I told the ladies, I'm leading this Bible study, and I never really liked women, but here I am, and God's just given me a heart for women. And it's an awful thing to say, but they all just looked at me like, what is this woman saying?
It was so funny, Michelle. It was so funny. We're just looking at her. She was so honest. And
I love that you're so transparent, though. I mean, doesn't that sound, Liz, you and I had talked when I first took on the California Women's Conference, and which most of my friends are guys. I have a husband, 25 years married. I'm like the sister next door. But that's what it came back to, is we women, we just don't play nice together very often. I mean, there's a lot there. I mean, it's not like you're making this up. There's opportunity for growth for us to play nice together in the sandbox.
Yes. And I love this, the one-on-one and the authentic, but sometimes, and that's such a stereotype that is, in this group, it was not as much authenticity. And that's not always true, but that was my perception. But, God did change my heart. And just through that process it was through that process that he gave me that love for women. And it was through him cultivating that love for women that finally led to that idea that he gave me. So he had a lot of work to do to get me here, but it started with a love for who he loves, and he loves women, and he wants to see them, championed as well. So anyway, I just had to throw that out. So
I think that's important too, as we have this conversation, because one of the things that came up, and the reason why the Real Share has been just taking off, and I mean, I'm doing this. We have an entire volunteer team that's putting this together, and I've loved it because it's really pulling individuals together, having real conversation with real individuals with real problems that are not showing up in any type of judgment, no fear tactics, no stigmas, but just truly showing up and saying, okay, how can we be better together? You know, and I said this before, you know, things are pretty crazy out there right now. And, you know, I look at the situation that my family has gone through. When we spent more days in the hospital than my husband and I have our entire marriage. We spent more days in the hospital this year than we have all of us combined, you know, our entire marriage. And that's crazy. I mean, here not having any time in the hospital to nights, you know, and going through this and having where at a time where loneliness is at an all-time high. I mean, they named an ambassador of loneliness before COVID-19, you know, even happened. London named an ambassador of loneliness. And so I think it's times like this where we can come together and just let our guard down and be okay. None of us have it all figured out. We're not supposed to have it all figured out. That's not how it's supposed to work. I mean, we're truly supposed to come in and get really clear about how each one of us wants to participate, what's our genius, what we're guided to do, and then play, have fun, you know, with this in a safe environment. So I love that you're here. I love that you're going to be part of this. I can't wait to see what we do with the magazine and pulling this together and really spotlighting individuals. I love for you to just give an example of how you've seen the magazine at work and what that's done. Because I know for me, like the conference, I mean, I sit back, I go into the conference and, you know, am in tears because it's way bigger than what I ever imagined. You know, it's way more, I mean, you know, I think Liz, you and I, the only time that Liz and I have ever had an argument, and it wasn't even a real argument. It was so funny. We were out walking. We would walk together because we lived, you know, blocks away from each other. And she felt like she wasn't doing what I wanted her to do, or I was letting her down, or she was letting me down. And I was explaining to her, it's like, you can't let me down. You know, you are like.
I was just being insecure. I mean, she was the rock star at events, and here she said, "Here, you're in charge of the VIP lounge," and I just thought, am I doing everything right? And then I just became a little bit insecure, and then we didn't talk to each other for about 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
We ran into each other on our way back home.
So we turned the other way and then walked the other way. And by the time we met up, you would have laughed, Shannon. We were laughing. We're like, okay, in 15 years,
each other again. We couldn't stay mad, so it was awesome.
Well, and that's why I think too, it goes back to, and you know, Kim Kovacs, I talk about her a lot because I didn't really understand what it meant to be a partner, and how to really show up in your genius. And so for the two of us, we created a company, sold it in 5 months, and she was able to do her genius and loves a spreadsheet and raising capital and is very much into exploration around data. And then you have me is this megaphone and pulling women together and setting this up. And because I was trying to do it all before, you know, and you talked about this as well, it's like, the details and all of that, there are individuals out there that like with a good spreadsheet. I'm going to mute that. There you go. I think that is on Liz's side. But that's what I learned, is that life could be so much more enjoyable when you stay in your lane and you focus on the skill set that really lights you up, that you enjoy doing, and that you're not trying to be everything to everybody. That's really when that partnership comes together, we're able to 10x ourselves. Tell me how that has been working for the magazine.
So we actually just launched our magazine, our first issue last week. So I'll tell you, I know, and maybe, 6 months, but what I'm learning, so yeah, we launched January 1st. We started moving forward into this, and we at this point don't know what we don't know, but there's a lot of beautiful brain power coming together to figure it out. And so we are growing. So to answer your question, though, you said, how has the magazine, I'm not sure how you phrased it, but what has been the result of it so far? So it's brand new, but what's been happening is we are seeing just this momentum and excitement of, because it's our platform, but on our website we say it's our platform, but it's your platform. Like, we are inviting you in to be a contributor, and whatever that looks like. And so we have, and it's just beginning. And then with all of this COVID stuff starting, then that was kind of we had to shift and figure stuff out. But what we're seeing is the traction and the excitement, the momentum we're starting to see that with, because we're just inviting women in. We're like, do you have a desire to write a book? God prompted you to write a book and you don't know where to start. You know what? We can come alongside and help you figure that out. Or, you want to start a business, and, we have some women we can pull together, and we'll bring them alongside you. And so just that excitement, and I am sensing that it's just going to continue to grow.
Well, and then when we put it out there to the universe, and pray about it and get very intentional, that's when it starts to happen. And so what I was referring to earlier is this 10X mentality. I could put North America's largest women's conference on. I could do all this stuff. But when I started having these key partners and coming together and really having each individual do their specific genius in their wheelhouse, that's when the magic really started happening. That's when we're able to do stuff on a global level. I mean, I'm on tonight with a podcast at 8 p.m. That's out of New Zealand. And we're putting together a global, and I would love to have you guys part of this. But what we're doing is we're putting together a global directory called Made with Love. And then we've got everything conscious, made with love, for love, out of love, is coming together on this global platform. And then we've got a calendar that will be up and running by the end of this month. And it's just been, and so putting these pieces together. And so having that as your readership can come together, and we can go ahead and do this online version and incorporate that and have it go around the planet. I mean, there's nothing stopping us at all. That's what I've been learning, through this experience. And I shared with you earlier, it was this quest for me to go out and seek out, what the remedy was for me. And in doing so, I fell in love with myself and really just appreciated my genius and how I'm contributing into it. And all of a sudden, the pieces all started coming together. But yeah, I'd love to talk to you about that and how we can create a stage on a global platform where we can really, really expand this. Because when I saw 18,000 women and men sign up to be a speaker for my conference, I knew that women and men had a message to share. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to do whatever I need to do to be able to create that platform so that they can get their message out there. And you have that same passion.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you always had it?
No. No, it's been the last. So after the Bible study, when I told Liz in the group that I didn't like women, God continued to do a work, and I ended up becoming asked to be the director of women at a local church for a couple of years. And when I stepped into that role, so I just finished that role in December. And when I stepped in, I knew God wanted to do something new, and specifically with Bible studies is what it was. But I thought, there's a wonderful Bible. There's so many wonderful Bible studies, so many wonderful teachers. But I was convinced that God wanted to do something in and through the women in our church and have them raised up, that he was going to do a new thing. And they just needed an opportunity. And so we moved forward with that. And by the end of these 2 years, we wrote 6 Bible studies, and there was 17 women on the teaching team, and there was no stopping it. And so it was that was really the seedlings, if you will, for what we're doing now. That was kind of the light went on when we met together last year. We're like, God's doing something big here, and it's way beyond this church. And I saw it almost like this kind of fire going out from our church and then just going out. And he's not only doing something here, but you're right, New Zealand, he is doing something. He is up to something. So it's no surprise that we're so aligned in this, because it's something he's up to. So there's no stopping it.
And I do feel like we co-create what it is that is our purpose, and that we're intended to do it on the planet. And I mean, for me, and my dad had paid me this beautiful, beautiful compliment. It was when we had our first argument ever. We just don't argue. And he was upset because he was saying, I want you to, start a treatment, Michelle. You need to start a treatment. And I said, Dad, I've started a treatment. And I had been going. It wasn't what he envisioned as the treatment that I should start. But for him, again, it's fear. We get very scared when our child, is ill. I mean, I think oftentimes even worse than ourselves, when it's happening to our kid. And he just was so upset. And so he said to me, he goes, you have, your mother and I, we are just so happy with your faith. Like, you have this like tremendous faith. And I told him, I said, Dad, for me, I just feel like I'm not going at this alone at all. I feel so held onto and so supported and so loved. And so for me, this process, and I see different, people express it differently, when they talk about, God and Jesus and, and I think that that's something too. And as they go through their journey of what really, holds on to them. But for me, that experience has gotten me through this experience so much so that it has been my best year. Mm-hmm. And that's what I told my dad. It's what I'm so grateful for. In just going through this, of just knowing in my core that I'm held on to. Mm-hmm. And I have, I can grab it, but my favorite poem is the Footprints poem, mm-hmm. Where, the man is talking about walking on the beach, and through the toughest part of his life, he sees that there's only one set of footprints. And that was when he was being held. Mm-hmm. And I think for me, it's just this feeling of really communicating to individuals that they don't have to go at this alone. They absolutely, can be held onto and supported. It's really just up to them to allow that relationship in and to have that. And so, yeah, so I'm very particular about sharing with people that, make it your relationship. I mean, make it your, what it is that you want, not what somebody else wants or what somebody else envisions the relationship to be for you. Mm-hmm. But what is it that you want? What really resonates with you? What is it that makes you feel safe and held on to? And that's where this last year for me, it's, when I was in the car, we've all had those days where we're in the car screaming, just like, please God, like, where are you? And then, he shows up, and it's just been beautiful. And for me, Liz and I have a beautiful, beautiful relationship, because she did show up for me at a time when I know the date exactly, August 23rd, 3 years ago, Liz. And it's when I stopped drinking. and decided, it wasn't serving me. And that's before, had a couple really not so good encounters with alcohol. And it just, again, it just didn't serve me. And I reached out to Liz, and she was there, and she showed up for me. And it was a time when I didn't want anybody around. I mean, anybody. And she just would not let go. She's like a little chihuahua. She's like, I can take you to lunch. I can go here. I'm like, Liz, I just want to go to sleep, put the covers over my head. I don't want to come out. And she wouldn't let go. She wouldn't let go. So when she brings up that she wants me to meet with somebody or talk to somebody that's doing big stuff on the planet, that has their head in the right place and that is being a servant, I listen. I absolutely listen.
And that's a key word too, even with just being a servant. And that is not a bad word to serve somebody. I think that's the greatest act of love that we can do. And when those friends of ours, or when we're hurting ourselves, you're right. It's when, because we can talk about stepping into your purpose and going and let's go and let's run together. But when you're at the lowest point, for whatever reason it is, when you're down, it's you need somebody to get down there with you and just sit there with you for a while.
Not judge you, not look at you, not kind of like do this, looking down. I mean, that's the last thing that you need. I mean, you just want to know you're not alone, and
don't be afraid of me. I always say that. Don't be afraid of me. Don't be afraid of my situation. And I think it's brave, powerful warriors, prayer warriors that can be there, right? Because it's not for everybody. Not everybody's brave. I've had many friends say, I apologize for not reaching out. I just didn't know what to say. And it made me uncomfortable. I'm so sorry. Right? So
I have a dear friend that lost their child, 16, to suicide. And they said to my husband and I, because we kept being friends and hanging out, and they said that it was really, really upsetting how many people just didn't know what to say and would not even be around them because the grief, and it was so overwhelming, and they just simply stopped being friends. And I just thought that was the craziest thing. And he said, well, Michelle, you don't operate that way. That's not something that you would even think about, but it's real for a lot of people. And that is it. And I felt it too, like with even just the diagnosis that I was going through, where people will take the mortality and they'll reflect on how is this affecting them and what does this mean for them in their lives, and looking at that and for obvious reasons, but to want to not put themselves in a position where they're even around that person. And that's what I think is so exciting about the work that we're doing, whether it's with the magazine, whether it's with the podcast, whether it's with the California Women's Conference, but it's bringing individuals together and saying, you know what, we're all going through stuff. I mean, every one of us is going through something. And if we can show up and help be that servant and help just share, hey, this is how I got through it. And we're not judging, but we're really just showing up just to basically be there. However, you need us to be there. And that's what I feel like with you, Liz. When you showed up, it wasn't to fix me. It wasn't to tell me what I wasn't doing or what I should be doing, or it was just to be with me.
Right.
That to me is so important, is just to be there and be together.
Well, that's why I brought Shannon today, because she taught me that. So years ago. But I love the women coming alongside no matter what they're going through. I love too that Shannon has always shared with me, well, if you want to be self-employed, why not? And she'll sit me down maybe with her husband who helps people build their own businesses. And, what are you waiting for? And just that encouragement. And I think that's kind of, Shannon, what you're thinking of with Salt and Clay. It's from supporting women when they're maybe not in a great place, but also taking them when they don't believe in themselves, and you see that talent and elevating them, right? I think that's kind of what you shared with me that Salt and Clay would be about. And I love that. I am now, because of COVID, I got laid off, and I am kind of self-employed now. And I'm thinking, I think I'm just going to build my own company. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm giving it to the Lord. But it's exciting because it's just happening. And just business is coming in. And I'm like, but God, nothing's established yet. I don't really have this whole business plan. It doesn't matter. Let's just, like I said, Michelle, let's just execute. But I always appreciate that, Shannon, that you brought me to dinner, sat me with a great resource that happens to be your husband. And, that's a beautiful thing. So I think that that's kind of what you're doing with your magazine, right? Is just empowering women to believe and see what they are, regardless of maybe you've never done it before, you don't have the degree, or.
And too, I just think about when we're in that place of maybe being discouraged, right? Or you lose your job or whatever's going on, is to, like what you said, Michelle, it is hard to know what to say. And I struggle with that too. But to push through that, and just to, like you said, to be there and to sow seeds of hope that there's a tomorrow, and that this is a season, and that there is an end to this, and to start to plant those, throw those seeds of hope in for, okay, there's something beyond this. Let's start dreaming and planning for what that could be. And what is it right now that you have in your hand? What is it that you're good at? And what are you passionate about right now? And even with all the hard stuff going on, let's dream about the possibilities of the what if, because this season will end. It's not always going to be hard. And so just I think kind of maybe being a cheerleader a little bit, and just believing, kind of putting on those glasses of possibility. I see this for you. And what about if we dream and plan and pray for something like that? And you know what, if we hit something a little bit less, that's okay. But let's pray for like a big, bold purpose, something beautiful and big. And so I think that's, especially for you, Liz, I mean, you're so amazingly gifted, and you can build your own business. That's what I'm praying for you.
Go big or go home, right?
That's right, girl.
And you've done it before. I think, it's like that period of time too. I wrote down a couple things, is ask. A lot of times I think people feel like, I can't ask. Nobody wants to hear. They don't maybe have the information, or they don't want to be bothered. I don't want to bother them. And what's so fascinating, it's like one of the nicest compliments that you can give somebody is when you do ask for their support, or you ask for their advice, or you just want to say, hey, what do you think about this? And I think when we can come to the table recognizing that we're not supposed to do it all. And, it took me, getting to 50 and celebrating, and doing these massive conferences. I will never, ever do another one again where I'm, like all roads leads to here. It's too much pressure. It's too much of an undertaking. And quite frankly, I don't enjoy it. It's not fun for me. What is fun is when you see people find their passion, and then they get into that wheelhouse, and they make it their own, and they really, really, really scale it up. And so I always go back to, what is it that you're doing when you're doing something, and you're being your essence? What is that fills you up? That's what you should be doing all the time. Mm-hmm. And I go back to your comment earlier, Shannon, and that is, I'm not good at the administrative. It's not that you're not good at it. It's that you have this genius, this skill set, and being this visionary that you want to make sure that you're putting that energy into the space that really fills you up, that only Shannon can do, and not doing all the other stuff. And that's when I stop being hard on myself and saying I'm not supposed to do it all. I mean, that's not how it's supposed to be. And I stopped being that, where I had to have it all the pieces in. Things got a lot easier. I got a lot more relaxed. All of a sudden stuff would just start showing up. And I just had to sit back, and it's like, okay, let's put this Patterson playground together. Let's have fun with this. Mm-hmm. And I mean, all I can say right now is it's probably good that I haven't gone galactic yet because I'm like, at least I have boundaries on the world, but I'm just amazed when you start looking at technology and what we're able to do today with the Zoom call and with just live streaming around the planet. I mean, we had, for International Women's Day, I had over 200 countries participating. And that was 2 years ago. For Love Fest, we had over 4,000 people, tap into Love Fest as a live stream. And so I look at what you're doing. I mean, it fits like right into this puzzle piece that we're putting together. Mm-hmm. So tell me what's next on the horizon as you build this out, and and to me, I would encourage you. I come with a warning label. So if you talk to me for more than 20 minutes, and Liz will tell you this, you're typically signed up for a committee, you're doing something, you're signed in, but we have an opportunity to collectively come together and really look at what is available on the planet that is made with love, that is providing resources for individuals to really expand and do their vision and do their dreams. Mm-hmm. And so I'd love to hear is just the kind of this next piece of what you see as the next item on your to-do list, and what you want to be tackling.
That's a really good question. There are many things that we talked about and dreamed about. There's 3 of us that are the co-founders of what we call P12 Collective. So that's the umbrella for Salt and Clay magazine. And we've been talking about becoming a publishing arm, not making the hoops so big and so many to jump through to be, to get to that place of being published. But even more than that, we have a desire to go outside of South Orange County, to go outside of the United States, and to go to those places, the far-reached places, and to find those women who are unseen and young girls. And what can we do to come alongside and to start sowing seeds into their lives and some of the darkest places? And so and what does that look like? I don't know. And I'm dreaming and praying for that. And I know God's going to bring the people and the resources necessary for that. But that's our heart. We don't want to, we're a business, but truthfully, and I hope my husband's not listening, we don't really care about making money necessarily. And whatever we bring in, we want to sow that seed into something else, into the lives of more women, and just raising up more and more women. And so, I can't concretely answer you, but that's where my heart is.
Well, I think you did, and a couple things that came up, and I was taking notes. So we have a foundation called Global Women Foundation, and the individuals that I have part of it are individuals that are doing just amazing things on the planet. You've got Lisa Varga, who is the president for AIM. It's the largest organization working to eradicate human trafficking that's on the planet. And she's become a dear, dear friend of mine. You've got Kim Kovacs, who is doing some extraordinary things with ArcView and cannabis in particular. So you've got Cynthia Kersey, who runs the Unstoppable Foundation. And so what we found, very similar to the philosophy that you have, is we are better together and we can 10x ourselves. And so when you start bringing these pieces together, and why not make it a viable business? So that way, we can do more, with the funds that we raise, and then going back in and really recognizing this. So with the Real Share, I've carved out, we have one day that talks entirely on funding and, how somebody goes about actually capturing and raising seed money. And I put that down. One of the comments that you had is sowing seeds. I thought that was beautiful. And you put that together. But again, it's this mindset of putting these pieces together and how can we go ahead and leverage assets that we have, connectivity and connections with individuals, and pulling this together so that there's not so much heavy lifting. That because of our resources and putting together this directory, that we not only can get the word out and really push this information out, but we can also utilize the services and lean in on the services. The company that we just did our website through, if you check out the Real Share website, amazing. I mean, amazing job. And Shannon McKay is the CEO. Met her in Mexico, and she's become a dear, dear friend. And what her company is focusing on right now is putting together a platform so that it's a plug and play where women have these incredible visions, ideas, but they're not maybe necessarily strong on marketing. And so then you have a company like Shannon's where you can just do this plug and play and for a nominal price, and you're not having these exorbitant costs. Because that's why a lot of times people don't move forward, because they can't see how the pieces are connected together. And the idea gets lost because we can't put those pieces together. And so that's what we're doing is, and we refer to it as crowdsourcing miracles, where we come together and just have a real conversation. What do you got? What resources do you have? What's your genius? And how can we collectively come together with like-minded individuals, like yourself, like your partners, that, recognize, what, gosh, if we come together and we help each other, we could do a lot of good, cool stuff together.
I agree. Oh, amen, girl. I'm
right?
with you.
Yeah. And one of the things Lisa talked about in just this last couple weeks that I was over at her house, and she said, let's put together, this women's group and have it be of individuals that have been able to do some pretty miraculous, stuff. And I experienced it firsthand with the California Women's Conference, because it was just like, I would look at some of these things that they had done. I mean, Cynthia Kersey, fed 400,000 individuals in Africa. I mean, just the stuff that she has done has been miraculous. And, there's not a day that goes by I don't get a text message from her. How are you doing? What do you need? I'm thinking about you, sending prayers. And I think we've been so focused on building up and handling what we've had that it's really hard to kind of lift up and say, okay, who else needs help? What do you need? And so that's what I'm working on is pulling together these organizations that can just offer some helpful resources, that if we come together, it just gets a lot easier, and it's definitely more fun.
I so agree with you. Oh my gosh, that sounds so amazing.
So if somebody wants to get involved with your organization and reach out to you, how do they talk to you?
The best way is, well, for me personally, it's Shannon at p12.org, but our website is salt-clay.com. And you can be a contributor. You can find out everything that we're doing. And that's probably the two best places.
Excellent. Well, I'm excited too, because I think there's some opportunity to take what you're doing and then share it. Is your platform digital, or is it, are you doing both?
We're going to be, we started off, the first issue is digital, and we are getting that ready to go to print. So we're slow rolling. It's very grassroots.
Only,
yes,
you know what? I will tell you this is, and I've had many companies and have, this last one is going, IPO. I mean, we've had like some, companies that I've worked with, in fact, Liz, that's how we met. I was working for a company and decided I wanted to pursue my dream and start a company. It was in recruiting called Touchpoint. And I was a top rep. I'd been doing great. And the CEO of the company came back and ended up being one of my investors. And he was like, and he was the CEO, who I'm talking about is Brad. And he was like, you're leaving, like you're making, all this money and you're going to leave making this. And it wasn't, to your point earlier, it's when we start making decisions, not about the dollar, and we really go to a place of what it is that lights us up, that is our purpose for being on the planet. And we're led based on that. Sky's the limits. And so that's why he was like, I want to be an investor in this company, because you're not being tied to the dollar. And it was a tough decision. I was in corporate America. I was paid, I had the steady paycheck that was coming in. And so it was really difficult to say, you know what, no, I'm going to believe in myself and go off and start my own company. But I knew I needed to ask for the support in order to fulfill the vision that I had. That it wasn't going to be a situation. And that would probably be the first thing that I would say in this conversation that we've had is what you were doing is asking, just simply asking for the help. I think, Liz is a great example of the two of you and how you play together is just to lay the cards out on the table. So I love it.
Oh, thank you so much. That's such great advice. And I'm just inspired by you and everything that you're doing and Made with Love. I can't wait to hear all about that. It sounds incredible. And the impact, I think the ripple effects are probably just going to be unprecedented.
Well, and I'm excited too, because I knew why I thought Liz had introduced us. Now I definitely know why. So we'll have a great time, just dreaming and visualizing and putting this together. So I'm really looking forward to this next follow-up conversation. So one of the things that we do on the show is we always lead with dance, and we go out dancing.
Okay.
And one of the things we're launching.
Tell Shannon that.
And one of the things, so Liz is going to be co-hosting. We're actually going to be doing a dance-off. I've always wanted to be a DJ and be, having this dance-off, and we've got Dear Jane. And so one of the things we'll be calling you on and having you be one of our first attendees is our dance-a-thon. That's going to be coming up very soon.
Okay.
But would love to. So with that, Connor, if you can lead us, and we'll jump right into our dance.